shy girl's first visit to the gynecologist, handsome millionaire doctor falls in love after a life-changing exam. Hello, my beloved family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories. Your presence fills my soul with deep joy and endless gratitude. You're not just viewers, you are my heart, my reason, my inspiration. Every story I share is a love letter written just for you. Without your beautiful souls, I am nothing. To our newest angels, welcome home. You've entered a space where love lives, and every heart is deeply cherished. Heavenly Father, bless this sacred family with your divine love. Watch over each precious soul with grace from above. Fill their hearts with peace, joy, and endless light. Guide their steps with your wisdom day and night. My precious family, let me speak from my heart. It hurts when I give everything to these stories, yet many watch in silence. I feel you, I sense you, but your quietness breaks my spirit. If you don't comment or like, I wonder if I've failed to reach you. Please don't let me suffer in silence. Every like, every comment is a lifeline, a reminder that our bond is real. Stay until the end, and let your presence speak louder than silence. To those who show love, thank you deeply. Help me reach the ones who remain quiet. We are stronger together. I'm asking from a place of honesty. If this story moves you, if even one word touches your soul, please don't vanish. Say, I am here, and let your words remind me that I'm not alone. This is our sacred space, but love must flow both ways to survive. You hold the power to lift my spirit or let it fade. Now let's begin today's story, shared from a heart that longs to feel your love in return. Donna Arnold's hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel of her old Honda Civic, staring up at the gleaming glass facade of Metropolitan Women's Health Center. At 23, she had never felt more terrified. The appointment confirmation, crumpled in her sweaty palm, read 2:01 p.m. with Dr. S. Ferguson, and it was already 1:58. "You can do this," she whispered, her voice barely audible over her thundering heartbeat. "It's just a routine checkup. Every woman does this." But Donna wasn't every woman. She was the girl who'd rather eat lunch alone in the library than face the cafeteria crowd. The woman who blushed crimson when grocery store clerks made small talk. The virgin who'd never been kissed properly, let alone exposed herself to a stranger. In the most vulnerable way imaginable, her reflection in the rearview mirror showed wide brown eyes filled with panic, her dark skin slightly pale with nerves. She'd spent an hour that morning choosing her outfit, settling on a modest navy dress that covered her from neck to knee, as if fabric could shield her from the embarrassment to come. The automatic doors whooshed open as she approached, and the sterile scent of disinfectant mixed with vanilla air freshener filled her nostrils. The waiting room was elegant, soft jazz playing, muted earth tones, comfortable chairs that probably cost more than her monthly rent. She approached the reception desk, where a kind-faced woman with silver hair smiled warmly. "You must be Donna. Arnold, we're so glad you're here, honey. Dr. Ferguson is running just a few minutes behind, but he'll be with you shortly." Donna nodded, not trusting her voice, and found a seat in the corner where she could observe without being noticed. She pulled out a worn paperback romance novel, her guilty pleasure and secret dream. The irony wasn't lost on her that she devoured stories of passionate love while being too shy to even make eye contact with attractive men in real life. Donna Arnold, the voice was warm, rich like dark chocolate with just a hint of a southern accent. She looked up from her book to see a nurse practitioner with a gentle smile. "Dr. Ferguson is ready for you now." Her legs felt like jelly as she followed the nurse down a corridor lined with tasteful artwork. They stopped at room 3, and the nurse gestured for her to enter. "The doctor will be right with you. Go ahead and change into the gown, opening in the front, and have a seat. On the examination table, try to relax, sweetheart. Relax, right." Donna stared at the flimsy paper gown as if it were her executioner's hood. Her hands shook so violently she could barely work the buttons of her dress. Every sound in the hallway made her jump, wondering if he was coming. She'd imagined Dr. Ferguson as an older, fatherly figure with kind eyes and gentle hands. Someone safe, someone who wouldn't make her feel like a specimen under a microscope. A soft knock at the door made her heart leap into her throat. "Miss Arnold, may I come in?" Even through the door, she could hear something in that voice that made her stomach flutter in a way that had nothing to do with nervousness. Well, not entirely. "Yes," she managed to croak. The door opened and Donna's world tilted on its axis. Dr. Stan Ferguson was nothing like she'd imagined. He was young, maybe late 20s, with thick dark hair that looked like he'd run his fingers through it, piercing green eyes that seemed to see straight to her soul, and a face that belonged on magazine covers rather than in medical offices. He was tall, probably 6'2", with broad shoulders that filled out his white coat perfectly. When he smiled, revealing perfect teeth, Donna forgot how to breathe. "Hello, Donna, I'm Dr. Ferguson, but please call me Stan." His voice was even more devastating in person, warm and reassuring with just a hint of southern accent. "I know, this can be nerve-wracking, especially for a first visit. I want you to know that my job is to make sure you're comfortable and that all your questions are answered." He moved with quiet confidence, washing his hands thoroughly while keeping up. A gentle stream of conversation designed to put her at ease. It was working. Sort of. The panic was still there, but now it was mixed with something else entirely. Something that made her skin tingle and her pulse race for entirely different reasons. "Have you been having any specific concerns, or is this just a wellness visit?" Stan asked, settling onto a rolling stool and maintaining respectful eye contact. Just a checkup," Donna whispered, her voice barely audible. This is my first time seeing a gynecologist." Something shifted in Stan's expression, a softness that made her chest tight. "I'm honored that you chose our practice for such an important milestone. I promise to explain everything as we go and make sure you're comfortable every step of the way." The examination began with routine questions about her medical history, family health, lifestyle. Stan's manner was so professional yet kind that Donna found herself relaxing despite her racing heart. He had a way of making clinical questions feel like gentle conversation. "Now, I'm going to need you to lie back and place your feet in the stirrups," Stan said softly. "I know it feels vulnerable, but I need you to try to relax your muscles as much as possible. Take deep breaths for me." Donna's entire body tensed as she assumed the position that made her feel more exposed than she'd ever been in her life. The paper gown crinkled with every tremor that ran through her body. "You're doing great," Stan murmured, his voice closer now as he positioned himself at the foot of the table. "I'm going to warn you before I touch you, okay? First, I'm just going to do a visual examination." The clinical nature of his words should have made this easier, but the gentle tone of his voice was doing things to her that she didn't understand. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to pretend she was anywhere else in the world. "Donna, I need you to try to relax. I can feel how tense you are, and it's going to make this more uncomfortable than it needs to be." Stan's voice was infinitely patient. "Look at me." Against her better judgment, she opened her eyes and met his gaze. Those green eyes held nothing but compassion and professionalism, but there was something else there too. Something that made her breath catch. "You're safe with me," he said quietly, and she believed him completely. "I know this is scary, but you're incredibly brave for taking care of your health this way." As the examination continued, Stan kept up a steady stream of gentle reassurance. His touch was clinical but somehow tender, his hands warm and steady. When their eyes met accidentally during a particularly vulnerable moment, Donna felt an electric shock run through her entire body. Stan's pupils dilated slightly, and for just a second, his professional composure seemed to slip. "Everything looks perfectly healthy," Stan said, his voice slightly rougher than before as he helped her sit up. "You can get dressed now. I'll wait outside, and then we'll discuss your results." After he left, Donna sat on the examination table, trying to process what had just happened. The medical exam was over, and she'd survived it. But something else had occurred in this room, something that made her skin burn and her heart race in ways she'd only read about in her romance novels. When Stan returned, he seemed to have regained his professional composure, but Donna noticed his hands weren't quite steady as he reviewed her chart. "Everything is normal and healthy," he said, though his eyes kept drifting to her face. "Do you have any questions about the examination or your reproductive health in general?" "No, Thank you for being so gentle," Donna whispered, her cheeks burning. "I was terrified, but you made it bearable." Stan's smile was soft and genuine. "That's what I'm here for. I want you to feel comfortable coming back for your annual exams. Women's health care shouldn't be something you dread." As she gathered her purse to leave, their hands brushed accidentally when he handed her the appointment reminder card. The contact was brief, innocent, but it sent lightning through both of them. Stan's breath caught audibly, and Donna's eyes flew to his face. For a moment they stared at each other, the air between them crackling with something neither of them expected or understood. Then Stan stepped back, clearing his throat. "Take care of yourself, Donna," he said softly. I hope to see you again soon." Walking out of that office, Donna felt like a different person than the terrified girl who'd walked in. She'd survived her first gynecological exam, but more than that, she'd experienced something she'd never felt before. A connection so intense it left her breathless and confused and utterly, completely alive. Chapter 2. The Collision of Souls. 3 days had passed since Donna's appointment, and she couldn't get Dr. Stan Ferguson out of her mind. She'd replayed every moment of their encounter 1,000 times. The way his green eyes had softened when he looked at her, the gentle timbre of his voice, the electric shock when their hands had accidentally touched. She'd never experienced anything like it, and it terrified her almost as much as it thrilled her. Standing in the elevator of Metropolitan Medical Center, clutching a small gift bag, Donna questioned her sanity for the 100th time. She'd come to drop off a thank you card and homemade cookies for the nursing staff. Her mother had always taught her to show gratitude. But deep down, she knew she was hoping for just one more glimpse of him. The elevator dinged softly as it reached the 3rd floor, and Donna stepped out, her heart hammering against her ribs. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, a soft pink sweater that brought out the warmth in her dark skin and jeans that actually fit her curves instead of hiding them. For once in her life, she wanted to look pretty instead of invisible. "Donna?" The familiar voice made her spin around so quickly that she lost her balance. The hot chocolate she'd bought from the lobby cafe went flying, splashing across the front of an expensive white dress shirt and navy tie. "Oh God, oh no, I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out of her mouth as horror washed over her. Of all the people to literally run into, it had to be him. "I'm such a klutz, I'm so sorry." Stan looked down at his chocolate-stained shirt, then back up at her with an expression she couldn't read. For a terrifying moment, she thought he was going to be angry. Then his face broke into a grin that made her knees weak. "Well, that's one way to make sure I remember you," he said, his eyes twinkling with amusement rather than irritation. But Donna was beyond hearing his gentle teasing. The embarrassment was overwhelming, crashing over her like a tidal wave. Her eyes filled with tears as the familiar shame of being noticed for all the wrong reasons consumed her. She'd spent her whole life trying to be invisible, and now she'd made herself unforgettable for the most humiliating reason possible. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'll pay for dry cleaning. I'll buy you a new shirt. Hey. Stan's voice was infinitely gentle as he stepped closer, completely ignoring his ruined clothes. "Donna, look at me." She couldn't. She stared at the floor, mortified beyond words, wanting nothing more than to disappear. Please, he said softly, and something in his tone made her lift her tear-filled eyes to his face. What she saw there made her breath catch. There was no anger, no irritation, only concern and something that looked almost like tenderness. "It's just a shirt," Stan said, reaching into his pocket for a clean handkerchief. "And tears are much harder to clean than hot chocolate." With infinite care, he dabbed at her cheeks, his touch so gentle it made her heart ache. Standing this close to him, she could smell his cologne, something warm and masculine that made her head spin. She could see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, the slight cleft in his chin, the way his lips curved in the softest smile. "There," he murmured, his face close enough that she could feel his breath on her skin. "Much better." "I really am sorry about your shirt," Donna whispered, acutely aware that they were standing far too close for two people who barely knew each other. "I have about 20 identical shirts in my closet," Stan said with a chuckle. "My mother insists on buying them for me. This actually gives me an excuse to wear something with color for once." Despite her embarrassment, Donna found herself smiling. "You don't strike me as the colorful type." "You'd be surprised," Stan said, his eyes holding hers. "There's a lot about me that might surprise you." The air between them seemed to shimmer with possibility, charged with the same electricity she'd felt in his office. Donna was suddenly acutely aware that she was staring into the eyes of the most beautiful man she'd ever seen, and he was looking back at her like she was something precious. "Can I buy you another hot chocolate?" Stan asked, gesturing toward the cafe down the hall. "It seems like the least I can do after being in the path of your beverage." "You don't have to. I want to," he said simply, and the sincerity in his voice made her chest tight. 10 minutes later, they were seated across from each other in the hospital cafe, 2 fresh cups of hot chocolate steaming between them. Stan had borrowed a scrub top from one of the nurses, and somehow he looked even more devastatingly handsome in the casual blue cotton than he had in his formal dress shirt. "So what brought you back to the medical center?" Stan asked, wrapping his long fingers around his mug. "Everything okay?" "I wanted to drop off thank you cookies for the nursing staff," Donna said, gesturing to the gift bag she'd salvaged from their collision. "My mother always taught me to show appreciation." "That's incredibly thoughtful," Stan said, and the warmth in his voice made her cheeks heat. "Most patients complain about the waiting time or the parking. You bring homemade cookies." "I like to bake when I'm nervous," Donna admitted before she could stop herself. "It helps me think." "What were you nervous about?" The question was gentle, but it hit her like a punch to the gut. How could she possibly tell him that she'd been nervous? About him, about the way he'd made her feel, about the dreams that had kept her awake for 3 nights running. The other day was my first time seeing a doctor like you," she said carefully. It was overwhelming. Something flickered in Stan's eyes, an emotion she couldn't quite identify. Did I make you uncomfortable? Because if I did anything... No! The word came out more forcefully than she'd intended, making several nearby tables look their way. She lowered her voice, her cheeks burning. "No, you were perfect. Professional. You were very professional." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't entirely true. There had been moments during the examination when his professionalism had seemed to slip, when she'd caught him looking at her with something that went beyond clinical interest. "I'm glad," Stan said quietly. "I have to admit, you made quite an impression on me, too." The words hung between them like a confession, heavy with implication. Donna's heart started racing again, but this time it had nothing to do with embarrassment. "I did? You did?" Stan's voice was soft, almost intimate, despite the public setting. "I've been thinking about you." The admission sent heat spiraling through her entire body. She'd fantasized about this moment, him thinking about her the way she'd been thinking about him. but she'd never imagined it could actually happen. "I've been thinking about you too," she whispered, the words slipping out before she could stop them. The smile that spread across Stan's face was radiant, transforming his handsome features into something that took her breath away completely. "Tell me about yourself, Donna," he said, leaning forward slightly. "What do you do when you're not bringing cookies to medical staff?" "I'm a librarian," she said, then immediately felt foolish. "I know it's not very exciting. Are you kidding?" Stan's eyes lit up with genuine interest. "I love libraries. There's something magical about being surrounded by all those stories, all that knowledge. What's your favorite part about it?" No one had ever asked her that before. Most people heard librarian and immediately assumed she was boring, uptight, forgettable. But Stan was looking at her like she'd just revealed something fascinating. "The children's section," she said, her shyness melting away under his genuine interest. "I do story time twice a week. There's nothing like watching a child's face light up when they discover a new book, a new world they never knew existed." "That's beautiful," Stan said, and she could tell he meant it. "You must be wonderful with kids." "I love them," Donna admitted. "They don't judge you, you know. They just want someone to care about them, to pay attention to them. It's pure and honest." "Unlike adults," Stan said with a rueful smile. "What about you?" Donna asked, surprising herself with her boldness. "What made you want to be a doctor?" Stan's expression grew serious, and for a moment she thought she'd overstepped. Then he began to speak, his voice low and intense. "I lost my little sister when I was 16, he said quietly. "She was only 12. She'd been having stomach pains for weeks, but the first doctor we saw dismissed it as growing pains. By the time we got a second opinion, her appendix had burst. She died from complications that could have been prevented if someone had just listened to her, taken her seriously." Donna's heart clenched at the pain in his voice. Without thinking, she reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. The contact sent sparks up her arm, but more than that, she felt the tremor that ran through him at her touch. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I swore that day that I'd never dismiss a patient's concerns, never make anyone feel like their pain." "Doesn't matter," Stan continued, his fingers tightening around hers. "Especially women. Too many doctors don't take women's health seriously enough." "Is that why you chose gynecology?" "Partly," Stan said, his thumb stroking across her knuckles in a way that made her pulse flutter. "But also because I wanted to. Help women feel comfortable with their bodies, with their health care. I wanted to be the kind of doctor I would trust with my sister, if she was still here." The pain in his voice was raw, real, and it made Donna want to wrap her arms around him and hold him until it went away. She'd never felt such a strong urge to comfort someone, to ease their suffering. "She would be proud of you," Donna said softly. "What you do, the way you care for your patients. It's a beautiful tribute to her memory." Stan's eyes glistened, and when he looked at her, the intensity of his gaze made her feel like she was drowning in the best possible way. "How is it possible that I feel like I've known you forever when we just met 3 days ago?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion. Donna's breath caught. She felt it too, this impossible connection, this sense of recognition that defied logic. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I feel it too." They sat in silence for a moment, hands still linked across the table, both trying to process the magnitude of what was happening between them. Finally, Stan glanced at his watch and sighed. "I have to get back," he said reluctantly. "I have a patient in 20 minutes. "Of course," Donna said, starting to pull her hand away. But Stan held on, his fingers tightening around hers. "Donna," he said, his voice intense, "I know this is crazy, and I know there are probably a dozen reasons why this is a bad idea, but I can't stop thinking about you. Would you maybe want to have dinner with me sometime?" Her heart stopped, then started again at double speed. Stan Ferguson, gorgeous, successful, incredible Stan Ferguson was asking her out. Her, plain, shy, invisible Donna. "Arnold, she started, then stopped, overwhelmed by the impossibility of it all. "Think about it," Stan said gently, releasing her hand to pull out his business card. He wrote something on the back and handed it to her. "That's my personal number. Call me when you decide." As he stood to leave, he paused beside her chair, his hand coming to rest lightly on her shoulder. The touch burned through her sweater, branding her skin. "For what it's worth," he said softly, his lips close to her ear, "I think you're extraordinary." And then he was gone, leaving Donna sitting alone in the cafe, staring at his business card and wondering if her life had just changed forever. Chapter 3. Destiny's Thread. 2 weeks had passed since the coffee shop encounter, and Donna had Stan's business card memorized. She'd pulled it out a dozen times, her finger hovering over his number, but courage always failed her at the last second. What would she even say? A man like Stan Ferguson could have any woman he wanted. Why would he be interested in a shy librarian who turned into a stuttering mess whenever he was near? It was Thursday afternoon, and Donna was in her element, surrounded by a circle of 8 children aged 4 to 7 for her weekly story time. This was where she felt most confident, most herself. The children sat cross-legged on the colorful carpet, their faces upturned with rapt attention, as she brought the characters to life with different voices and animated gestures. And the brave little mouse said to the enormous elephant, "Donna," continued, making her voice squeaky and determined, "Size doesn't matter when you have a big heart." The children giggled with delight, and 6-year-old Emma raised her hand excitedly. "Miss Donna, can you read another one, please?" "One more," Donna agreed with a warm smile, reaching for another picture book. "But this time, I need a volunteer to help me tell the story." Several little hands shot up, but before Donna could choose, a familiar voice from the back of the children's section made her heart stop. "Can I volunteer?" Donna's eyes flew up to see Stan Ferguson standing near the biography section, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a little girl with his same green eyes and dark hair, wearing a purple tutu over jeans and clutching a stuffed unicorn. "Uncle Stan," the little girl exclaimed, breaking away from him to join the circle. "I want to help tell the story. Uncle Stan." The words hit Donna like a lightning bolt as she remembered their conversation about his sister. This must be his sister's daughter, his niece. "Is it okay if Sophie joins us?" Stan asked, his eyes meeting Donna's across the children's section. The intensity of his gaze made her pulse race, but she managed to nod. "Of course," Donna said, her voice only slightly breathless. "The more the merrier." As Sophie settled into the circle, chattering excitedly with the other children, Stan moved closer, choosing a spot against the bookshelf where he could watch. Donna tried to focus on the story, but she was acutely aware of his presence, the way his eyes never left her face. The book she'd chosen was about a shy little rabbit who discovers her courage. And as Donna read, she found herself glancing at Stan. There was something in his expression, admiration, wonder, something that made her feel beautiful and confident in a way she'd never experienced before. "Miss Donna," Sophie piped up during the story, "you have the prettiest voice, doesn't she, Uncle Stan?" "She really does," Stan said softly, his voice carrying clearly across the small space. "The prettiest voice I've ever heard." Heat flooded Donna's cheeks, but she managed to continue the story. When it ended, the children applauded enthusiastically, and Sophie bounced over to hug Donna's legs. "That was the best story ever," Sophie declared. "Will you be here next week?" "Every Thursday at 3, Donna said, smoothing the little girl's hair. "I'll be here. Can we come back, Uncle Stan? Please?" Sophie turned to her uncle with pleading eyes. "We'll see, sweetheart," Stan said, though his eyes were still on Donna. "Why don't you pick out some books while I talk to Miss Donna?" As Sophie scampered off to explore the picture books, Stan approached slowly, his hands in his pockets. Up close, Donna could see he was dressed more casually than at the hospital, dark jeans and a forest green sweater that made his eyes look like emeralds. "Fancy meeting you here," he said with that devastating smile. "It's a public library," Donna managed, though her heart was hammering. "Anyone can come." "True," Stan said, moving closer until she could smell his cologne. "But what are the odds that the woman I can't stop thinking about would be here, being absolutely magical with children?" The compliment made her breath catch. "I'm not magical, I love kids. They make everything seem possible." "You were incredible," Stan said, his voice intense. "Watching you with them, seeing how they responded to you. It was like watching someone in their perfect element. You transformed completely." "What do you mean?" "You weren't shy," Stan said gently. "You were confident, animated, radiant. It was beautiful to watch." Donna felt tears prick her eyes at the sincerity in his voice. No one had ever described her as radiant before. "Sophie is your sister's daughter?" she asked, needing to change the subject before she did something embarrassing like cry. Pain flickered across Stan's features, but he nodded. "Sarah was her mom. Sophie lives with my parents now, but I take her out as much as I can. She's all I have left of Sarah." "She's beautiful," Donna said softly. "She has your eyes." "Sarah's eyes," Stan corrected. "Sophie's the most important thing in my world. If something happened to her..." The raw emotion in his voice made Donna want to comfort him, to ease the pain she could see in his face. Without thinking, she reached out and touched his arm. "She's lucky to have you," Donna said. "You can see how much you love her." Stan's hand covered hers where it rested on his arm, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her skin. The touch sent electricity shooting through her entire body. "Uncle Stan!" Sophie's voice broke the spell between them. "Look what I found!" She came running back with an armload of books, her face glowing with excitement. "Miss Donna, will you help me pick which ones to get? There are so many good ones." "Of course," Donna said, grateful for the distraction from the intensity building between her and Stan. They spent the next 20 minutes going through Sophie's selections, with Donna reading snippets and helping her narrow down her choices. Stan watched the entire interaction with an expression that made Donna's stomach flutter. He looked like a man falling in love. "Okay, sweetheart," Stan finally said when Sophie had chosen 5 books. "We need to check these out and let Miss Donna get back to work." "But I don't want to leave yet," Sophie protested. "Miss Donna is the nicest lady ever, and she smells like cookies." Stan laughed, a rich sound that made Donna's heart skip. "She does smell like cookies, doesn't she?" "What kind of cookies, Soph?" Sophie took a dramatic sniff near Donna's arm, making her giggle. "Chocolate chip, my favorite." "I was baking this morning," Donna admitted. "The smell must have stuck to my clothes." "You bake too?" Stan asked, his eyebrows rising. "Is there anything you can't do?" Before Donna could answer, Sophie tugged on her uncle's sleeve. "Uncle Stan, can Miss Donna come get ice cream with us, please? She's so nice, and I want to tell her about my unicorn collection." Donna's eyes widened in panic. Ice cream meant more time with Stan, more opportunities to make a fool of herself, more chances to fall deeper under his spell. "Sophie? Miss Donna? Probably has other things to do." Stan started, but Donna surprised herself by interrupting. "Actually, I'd love to hear about your unicorn collection," she said, smiling at the little girl. "If it's okay with your uncle." The smile that spread across Stan's face was brilliant, transforming his handsome features into something that took her breath away completely. "It's more than okay," he said, his voice warm with something that sounded like gratitude and desire, rolled into one. 30 minutes later, they were seated in a corner booth at Sweetie's ice cream parlor, Sophie chattering away about her extensive unicorn collection while working on a sundae that was bigger than her head. Donna had chosen vanilla with strawberries, while Stan opted for chocolate chip. To match your cookie scent, he'd said with a wink that made her blush. And this one is Rainbow Sparkle, Sophie was saying, showing Donna a photo on Stan's phone of a pink and purple stuffed unicorn. She's my second favorite after Moonbeam. They're all beautiful, Donna said, genuinely charmed by the little girls. Enthusiasm. Do you have names for all of them? Of course. You can't have a unicorn without a proper name. Uncle Stan says naming things makes them more real. Your uncle is very wise, Donna said, glancing at Stan to find him watching her with an expression that made her pulse race. He's the best uncle in the whole world, Sophie declared. He takes me to the zoo and the movies, and he reads me bedtime stories when Grandma and Grandpa are tired. And he makes the best chocolate chip pancakes. Does he now? Donna asked, smiling at Stan's slightly embarrassed expression. It's the only thing I can cook without burning down the kitchen, Stan admitted. Thankfully, Sophie has simple tastes. I bet you're being modest, Donna said. You seem like the type who would be good at everything you try. Not everything, Stan said quietly, his eyes holding hers. I'm definitely not good at knowing what to say to beautiful women. The compliment hit her like a physical blow, stealing her breath and making her cheeks burn. Sophie, oblivious to the tension between the adults, continued chattering about unicorns and the upcoming school play where she was going to be a fairy princess. Miss Donna, do you have any kids? Sophie asked suddenly. No, sweetheart, Donna said softly, but I love spending time with children like you. You should have babies, Sophie announced matter-of-factly. You'd be the best mommy ever. Don't you think so, Uncle Stan? Stan choked slightly on his ice cream, his face turning red. Sophie, that's not really something we should, but it would, Sophie insisted. She's so nice and she smells good and she tells the best stories. Right, Miss Donna? Do you want to have babies someday? Donna felt like she might die of embarrassment, but when she looked at Stan, she saw something in his eyes that made her heart race. He was looking at her like he was imagining exactly what Sophie had suggested, and the heat in his gaze made her entire body tingle. Maybe someday, Donna managed to whisper. With someone really nice, Sophie continued, completely oblivious to the adults' reactions. Someone who would love you lots and lots, like how Uncle Stan... Sophie, Stan interrupted, gently but firmly. Why don't you finish your ice cream so we can walk Miss Donna to her car? As they left the ice cream parlor, Sophie skipped ahead while Stan and Donna walked slowly behind her. The evening air was cool, and when Donna shivered slightly, Stan immediately shrugged out of his jacket and draped it around her shoulders. The gesture was so tender, so protective, that it made her eyes sting with tears. Thank you, she whispered, pulling his jacket closer. It smelled like him, warm and masculine and safe. Donna, Stan said quietly, his voice rough with emotion, I need to ask you something. Her heart started racing. What? That card I gave you 2 weeks ago, did you lose it? Or have you just been trying to find a polite way to turn me down? The vulnerability in his voice broke her heart. How could he possibly think she would turn him down? I didn't lose it, she admitted. I was just scared. Of me? Of this, she said, gesturing between them. Of how you make me feel. I've never felt anything like this before, and it terrifies me. Stan stopped walking, his hand catching her arm gently to turn her toward him. Sophie had run ahead to look at a shop window, giving them a moment of privacy. How do I make you feel? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Donna looked up into his beautiful face, at the hope and desire and tenderness she saw there, and found her courage. Like I'm drowning, she whispered. Like I can't breathe when you're near me. Like I'm falling and I don't know if you'll catch me. Stan's hands came up to frame her face, his thumbs stroking along her cheekbones. I'll catch you, he promised, his voice fierce with emotion. I'll always catch you. And then he was kissing her, soft and sweet and perfect under the streetlight, while Sophie giggled in the distance and Donna's entire world shifted on its axis. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Stan rested his forehead against hers. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night," he whispered against her lips. "Please." This time, Donna didn't hesitate. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes." As Stan smiled and kissed her again, Donna realized that sometimes the most beautiful things happened when you were brave enough to let yourself fall. Chapter 4. The Forbidden Coffee Date. Donna stood in front of her bedroom mirror for the 10th time that morning, changing clothes again. The black dress looked too formal, the blue sweater too casual, the green blouse too desperate. Nothing seemed right for her dinner date with Stan, their first real date. Every time she thought about it, her stomach erupted in butterflies, and her hands started trembling. Finally, she settled on a soft burgundy dress that hugged her curves without being too revealing, paired with her grandmother's pearl earrings for courage. As she applied lip gloss with shaking hands, her phone buzzed with a text message. "Stan, something's come up at the hospital. Can we meet for coffee instead? I need to talk to you about something important." Disappointment crashed over her, followed immediately by panic. He was canceling. He'd changed his mind. Maybe after seeing her with Sophie yesterday, he'd realized she wasn't sophisticated enough for someone like him. But then, another text came through. "Stan, I promise it's not what you're thinking. Please, trust me. Cafe Luna on 5th Street, 2 p.m. How did he know what she was thinking? Donna stared at her reflection, seeing the fear in her own eyes. She could make an excuse, claim she was busy, protect herself from whatever disappointment was coming. Or she could be brave. "Donna, I'll be there." Cafe Luna was a cozy little place with exposed brick walls, mismatched vintage furniture, and the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. Donna arrived 5 minutes early, choosing a corner table where she could see the entrance. She ordered a vanilla latte and tried to calm her racing heart. Stan walked in at exactly 2 p.m., and the sight of him made her breath catch. He was dressed casually in dark jeans and a charcoal gray sweater that clung to his broad shoulders. But there was tension in his posture that hadn't been there yesterday. His green eyes scanned the cafe until they found her, and his face softened with relief. "Thank you for coming," he said, as he slid into the chair across from her. "I was afraid you might think I was blowing you off." "The thought crossed my mind," Donna admitted, then immediately regretted her honesty. Stan's face fell. "Donna, I would never—" "I know," she said quickly, reaching across the table to touch his hand. "I'm sorry. I'm not used to this. Any of this." His fingers intertwined with hers, and the familiar electricity shot up her arm. "That's actually what I need to talk to you about." Fear clawed at her chest. "You're having second thoughts." "No." The word was fierce, immediate. "God, no. If anything, I'm having the opposite problem." Donna blinked in confusion. "I don't understand." Stan was quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said quietly. "Since the moment you walked into my office, you've been in my head, in my dreams, under my skin. Yesterday, watching you with Sophie, seeing how incredible you are with children, how your whole face lights up when you're happy." He took a shaky breath. "I'm falling for you, Donna. Hard and fast and completely." Her heart soared at his words, but the serious expression on his face kept her grounded. "That sounds like a good thing." "It is," Stan said, "but it's also a problem, because I'm your patient." "Exactly." Stan's grip on her hand tightened. "There are ethical guidelines, professional boundaries that exist for good reasons. I could..." Lose my license? If anyone found out I was pursuing a romantic relationship with a patient, the words hit her like a physical blow. Of course, she should have realized that someone like Stan, someone with so much to lose, would never risk his career for her. She tried to pull her hand away, but he held on. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't think about the complications. We should, probably. I've transferred your care to Dr. Martinez," Stan said suddenly, cutting off her retreat. Donna's eyes flew to his face. "What?" "Dr. Elena Martinez is one of the best gynecologists in the city," Stan continued, his eyes never leaving hers. "I called her this morning and explained that I had a conflict of interest with one of my patients. She's agreed to take over your care immediately. You gave up a patient for me?" "I gave up the ability to be your doctor," Stan corrected, his voice intense, "so that I could have the chance to be something else to you instead." The magnitude of what he was saying hit her like a tidal wave. He was willing to risk his professional reputation, to navigate ethical complications, just for the possibility of being with her. "Stan, I can't let you do that," she said, tears pricking her eyes. "Your career is too important." "My career is important," he agreed. "But you're more important." The simple statement hung between them, heavy with meaning. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. No one had ever made her feel like she was worth sacrificing for. "I don't understand why," she whispered. "I'm nobody special, I'm just—" "Stop." Stan's voice was firm but gentle. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." He released her hand and stood up, moving around the table to sit in the chair beside her instead of across from her. His proximity made her head spin, and when he reached up to cup her face in his hands, she thought she might stop breathing altogether. "You want to know what I see when I look at you?" he asked, his voice soft but intense. "I see a woman who brings homemade cookies to thank people for doing their jobs. A woman who volunteers at the library because she loves seeing children discover new worlds. A woman who's so genuinely kind that my 6-year-old niece wants to adopt her as family after knowing her for 2 hours." Tears spilled down Donna's cheeks as he continued. "I see someone who's brave enough to face her fears, who cares more about other people's comfort than her own, who has the most beautiful smile I've ever seen. You're not nobody special, Donna. You're everything." His thumbs wiped away her tears as he leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. "I know this is crazy," he whispered. "I know we barely know each other, but I've never felt anything like what I feel for you. It's like you've awakened something in me that I didn't even know was sleeping." "I feel it too," Donna whispered back, her voice barely audible. "It scares me how much I feel it." "It scares me too," Stan admitted. "But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." The space between them was charged with electricity, with possibility, with the weight of a decision that would change both their lives. Stan's eyes dropped to her lips, and she felt herself leaning toward him, drawn by a force stronger than gravity. "If we do this," he said quietly, his lips inches from hers, "there's no going back. Once I kiss you, really kiss you, I don't think I'll be able to let you go." "Then don't," Donna breathed, and closed the distance between them. The kiss was nothing, like their sweet, innocent kiss under the streetlight. This was fire and desperation and need. Stan's hands tangled in her hair as he pulled her closer, and Donna felt herself melting into him, drowning in sensations she'd never experienced before. She could taste the coffee on his lips, smell his cologne, feel the rapid beating of his heart against her chest. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Stan rested his forehead against hers, his eyes closed as if he were trying to memorize the moment. "I'm all in," he whispered fiercely. "Whatever this is between us, wherever it leads, I'm all in." "So am I," Donna whispered back, surprising herself with her certainty. They spent the next 3 hours talking, really talking, sharing stories and dreams and fears. Stan told her about medical school, about the pressure of living up to his family's expectations, about the loneliness of being successful but having no one to share it with. Donna opened up about her childhood, about growing up without a father, about feeling invisible for most of her life. "You're the first person who's ever really seen me," she admitted as the afternoon light faded outside the cafe windows. "You're the first person who's ever made me want to be seen," Stan replied, his fingers intertwined with hers on the small table. As they prepared to leave, Stan caught her hand, his expression suddenly serious. "Donna, I need you to know that I don't take any of this lightly," he said. "What I did today, transferring your care, that was me making a choice, choosing you over the safe path. I need to know that you understand what that means." "It means you think I'm worth the risk," Donna said softly. "It means you're worth everything," Stan corrected, bringing her hand to his lips to press a gentle kiss to her palm. "And I intend to spend every day proving that to you." Outside the cafe, Stan walked her to her car, his hand warm and steady on the small of her back. When they reached her Honda, he turned her to face him, his hands framing her face with infinite tenderness. "Have dinner with me tomorrow night," he said. "A real dinner this time, somewhere beautiful, somewhere worthy of you." "Okay," Donna whispered, lost in the intensity of his gaze. "Wear something that makes you feel beautiful," Stan said, leaning down to brush his lips against hers in a kiss that was both promise and benediction. "Though you could wear a paper bag and still be the most gorgeous woman in any room." As he walked away, Donna leaned against her car, watching him go. Her lips still tingled from his kisses. Her heart still raced from his touch. And for the first time in her life, she felt like the heroine of her own love story. Stan Ferguson had given up being her doctor so he could be her everything instead. And as scary as that was, it was also the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for her. Tomorrow night couldn't come soon enough. Chapter 5. The First Touch of Paradise. Donna had never owned a dress that made her feel beautiful. Standing in the boutique dressing room, staring at her reflection, she could hardly believe the woman looking back at her was really her. The emerald green silk dress hugged her curves perfectly, the color bringing out the warmth in her dark skin and making her eyes sparkle. It was more than she'd ever spent on a single piece of clothing, but something about tonight felt like a beginning, like she was stepping into a new version of herself. Stan had texted her the address of the restaurant, Chez Laurent, one of the most exclusive places in the city. She'd looked it up online and nearly fainted at the prices, but when she tried to suggest somewhere more modest, he'd simply responded, "You deserve the best of everything. Trust me." Her hands shook slightly as she applied mascara, her mind racing with anticipation and nerves. This wasn't just dinner. This was their first real date as two people free to explore whatever was burning between them. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. At exactly 7 o'clock, there was a soft knock at her apartment door. Donna took one last look in the mirror, smoothed down her dress, and opened the door to find Stan standing in the hallway holding a single white rose. The sight of him in a perfectly tailored black suit, white dress shirt open at the collar, nearly brought her to her knees. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd run his fingers through it, and when his green eyes met hers, the intensity there made her breath catch. "You look..." Stan's voice trailed off as his gaze traveled slowly. From her face down to her feet and back up again, absolutely stunning. Heat flooded her cheeks as she accepted the rose, inhaling its delicate fragrance. "Thank you. You look pretty incredible yourself." "This is for you," Stan said, producing a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. Donna's eyes widened. "Stan, you don't need to. It's not what you think." he said with a gentle smile. "Open it." Inside the box was a delicate silver bracelet with a small charm in the shape of an open book. It was simple, elegant, and so perfectly thoughtful that tears pricked her eyes. "For the librarian who opened up a whole new world for me," Stan said, softly, taking the bracelet from the box. "May I?" Donna nodded, extending her wrist. His fingers were warm and gentle as he fastened the clasp, and the simple touch sent electricity racing up her arm. When he was finished, he didn't release her hand, instead bringing it to his lips to press a soft kiss to her pulse point. "Perfect," he murmured against her skin, and she wasn't sure if he meant the bracelet or something else entirely. The drive to the restaurant was filled with comfortable conversation, but underneath it all, Donna was acutely aware of the tension building between them. Every time Stan's hand brushed hers as he shifted gears, every time he looked at her with those intense green eyes, she felt heat pooling low in her belly. Chez Laurent was everything she'd imagined and more. Crystal chandeliers, crisp white, linens, soft piano music, and an atmosphere of refined elegance. The maitre d' led them to a corner table with a view of the city lights, and Stan held her chair like a perfect gentleman. "This is too much," Donna whispered as she looked around at the opulent surroundings. "Nothing is too much for you," Stan said simply, his eyes never leaving her face. "I want tonight to be perfect." The sommelier appeared to discuss wine pairings, and Donna watched in fascination as Stan navigated the conversation with easy confidence. He was clearly in his element here, comfortable with luxury in a way that reminded her of the vast differences in their backgrounds. "You're thinking too hard," Stan said after the sommelier left with their wine selection. "Am I that obvious?" "Your forehead gets this little crease when you're overthinking," Stan said, reaching across the table to smooth the line with his thumb. "What's worrying you?" "This," Donna said, gesturing around them. "All of this. It's not my world, Stan. I don't know how to act in places like this." "Just be yourself," he said simply. "That's all I want. But what if myself isn't enough? What if I embarrass you?" Stan's expression grew serious, and he caught her hands in both of his across the table. "Listen to me very carefully," he said, his voice low and intense. "You could never embarrass me. You're the most genuine, beautiful person I've ever met. I don't care about any of this." He gestured around the restaurant, "except that it gives us somewhere beautiful to share. Our first real dinner together." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tight with emotion. "I've never dated anyone like you before." "I've never dated anyone like you either," Stan said softly. "I've never wanted to." Their wine arrived, and Stan made a toast. "To new beginnings," he said, his eyes holding hers. "To taking chances," Donna replied, surprising herself with her boldness. As they sipped their wine and perused the menu, the conversation flowed as easily as it had in the cafe. Stan told her about his residency, the exhausting hours and impossible demands, but also the incredible privilege of helping people. Donna shared stories from the library about the elderly man who came in every day to read poetry aloud, about the teenage girl who discovered her love of science fiction through Donna's recommendations. "You have this way of talking about people," Stan observed as their appetizers arrived. "You see the best in everyone. It's beautiful." "Sometimes I think I see people more clearly because I felt invisible for so long," Donna admitted. "I know what it's like to be overlooked. I could never overlook you," Stan said quietly. "From the moment you walked into my office, you've been all I can see." The words sent heat spiraling through her, and when their eyes met across the table, the air between them seemed to shimmer with possibility. Dinner was perfect. The food was exquisite, the wine smooth and warming, but Donna barely noticed any of it. She was completely focused on Stan, on the way his face lit up when he smiled, on the deep rumble of his laugh, on the way his fingers traced patterns on her hand as they talked. Tell me about your dreams, Stan said as they shared a decadent chocolate dessert. Not just the writing, everything you've ever wanted. The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked her about her dreams before. I want to matter, she said softly. I want to make a difference in someone's life, even if it's small. I want to fall in love and be loved back. I want to feel beautiful and desired and enough. She paused, embarrassed by her honesty. That probably sounds silly. It sounds perfect, Stan said, his voice rough with emotion. And for what it's worth, you already matter. You've certainly made a difference in my life, have I? You've turned my entire world upside down, he admitted. A week ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I had my career, my routine, my perfectly ordered life. And then you walked in and suddenly none of that seemed to matter anymore. The intensity in his voice made her pulse race. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's the best thing that's ever happened to me, Stan said without hesitation. After dinner, Stan walked her to his car, his hand warm and possessive on the small of her back. Instead of starting the engine immediately, he turned to face her in the dim interior. I don't want this night to end, he said quietly. Neither do I, Donna whispered. Come back to my place, Stan said, his voice low and rough. Just to talk. I want to show you something. Donna's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew that going to his apartment would change everything between them, that there would be no going back. But looking into his beautiful face, seeing the desire and tenderness, there she found her answer. Okay, she breathed. Stan's penthouse was elegant and masculine, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and modern furniture in rich, dark colors. But what caught Donna's attention was the wall of medical journals and textbooks, interspersed with framed photos of Stan with Sophie and what must have been his sister Sarah. She was beautiful, Donna said softly, studying a photo of a young woman with Stan's green eyes and warm smile. She would have loved you, Stan said, coming to stand behind her. She always said I needed someone who would challenge me, make me want to be better. Do I do that? Every day, he said, his hands coming to rest on her shoulders. You make me want to be the kind of man who deserves you. Donna turned in his arms, her breath catching at their sudden proximity. His hands slid down to her waist, and she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Stan, she whispered, not sure what she was asking for. I know, he said, his voice strained. I feel it too. They stood there for a long moment, the tension building between them like a storm about to break. Finally, Stan reached up to cup her face in his hands, his thumbs stroking along her cheekbones. I want you, he said simply, his voice raw with honesty. I've wanted you since the moment I met you, but I need you to be sure, because once we cross this line... Donna silenced him by rising up on her toes and pressing her lips to his. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, but when Stan groaned and pulled her closer, it deepened into something desperate and consuming. His hands tangled in her hair as he walked her backward toward the couch, never breaking the kiss. When the backs of her legs hit the cushions, she pulled back to look at him, seeing her own desire reflected in his eyes. I'm sure, she whispered. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Stan's eyes fluttered closed as if her words were a physical caress. When he opened them again, they were dark with desire. You're so beautiful, he murmured, his hands skimming down her sides. I want to touch you everywhere, learn every inch of you. His words sent liquid fire through her veins. She'd never felt desired like this, never felt like someone wanted to worship her body the way Stan clearly did. Then touch me, she whispered, amazed at her own boldness. With infinite tenderness, Stan lowered her to the couch, his body covering hers as he kissed her deeply. His hands roamed her body with reverent touches, as if she were something precious and fragile. When he found the zipper of her dress, he paused. Are you sure? He asked again, his voice strained with the effort. of holding back. Yes, Donna breathed. Please, Stan. I want this, I want you. With shaking hands, he slowly lowered the zipper, pressing soft kisses to each inch of skin he revealed. Donna had never felt more beautiful or more desired than she did in that moment, with Stan looking at her like she was a goddess come to earth. Perfect, he whispered against her skin. You're absolutely perfect. They made love slowly, tenderly, with a passion that surprised them both with its intensity. Stan worshipped her body with his hands and mouth, bringing her to heights of pleasure she'd never imagined possible. And when they finally came together, it was with a connection so deep and profound that it brought tears to both their eyes. Afterward, they lay entwined on the couch, Donna's head on Stan's chest as he stroked her hair with gentle fingers. I love you, Stan said suddenly, his voice quiet but sure. Donna's breath caught. What? I love you, he repeated, tilting her chin up so she could see his face. I know it's crazy. I know it's too soon, but I can't keep it in anymore. I love you, Donna Arnold. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she looked into his sincere, beautiful face. I love you too, she whispered. I didn't think I was capable of feeling this much, but you've changed everything. Stan's smile was radiant as he kissed her again, soft and sweet and full of promise. Stay with me tonight, he murmured against her lips. Yes, Donna whispered, knowing that staying meant more than just sleeping in his bed. It meant accepting that her life had changed forever, that she was no longer the invisible, shy librarian she'd always been. She was a woman in love, and for the first time in her life, she was loved in return. Chapter 6. Walls come tumbling down. Donna woke to the sensation of warm lips pressing gentle kisses along her shoulder blade. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Stan's bedroom, and for a moment, she forgot where she was. Then Stan's arm tightened around her waist, pulling her back against his chest, and the memories of the night before came flooding back in vivid detail. Good morning, beautiful, Stan murmured against her neck, his voice rough with sleep. Heat flooded her cheeks as she became acutely aware that she was naked in his bed, her body pressed intimately against his. In the harsh light of morning, all her insecurities came rushing back. What must she look like? Her hair was probably a mess, her makeup smudged. Hey, Stan said softly, sensing her tension. He gently turned her to face him, his green eyes warm and tender. What's wrong? I must look terrible, Donna whispered, trying to hide her face against his chest. Stan caught her chin and tilted her face up to his. You look like a woman who was thoroughly loved last night, he said, his voice low and intimate. Which is to say, you look absolutely gorgeous. The sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter, but she still felt self-conscious. I should probably go home, let you get ready for work. It's Saturday, Stan said with a smile, and I was hoping you'd let me make you breakfast. I promised Sophie I make the best chocolate chip pancakes, remember? The reminder of his niece made Donna smile despite her nerves. She did seem very sure about that. The only way to settle it is to let me prove it, Stan said, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. Besides, I'm not nearly ready to let you go yet. An hour later, Donna sat at Stan's kitchen island wearing one of his dress shirts, which hung to her mid-thigh and made her feel both sexy and cherished. She watched in fascination as he moved around the kitchen with surprising competence, mixing batter and heating the griddle while brewing coffee that smelled like heaven. You really do know what you're doing, she observed, sipping the perfect cup of coffee he'd handed her. Sarah taught me, Stan said, his expression growing soft at the mention of his sister. She said any man worth his salt should be able to make breakfast for the woman he loves. The casual way he said, the woman he loves, made Donna's heart skip. In the clear light of morning, their declarations of love from the night before seemed almost surreal. Had they really said those words? Did he really mean them? Regrets, Stan asked quietly, as if reading her thoughts. About last night? No, Donna said immediately. Never, but I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and discover this was all a dream. Stan abandoned the pancake batter and came around the island to stand in front of her, his hands framing her face with infinite tenderness. It's not a dream, he said firmly. You're here in my kitchen wearing my shirt, and you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I love you, Donna Arnold, and I meant every word I said last night. Tears pricked her eyes at the fierce sincerity in his voice. I love you too, she whispered. I'm just scared. Of what? Of how fast this is happening, of how much I feel for you, of the fact that you could have any woman you want and I still can't believe you chose me. Stan's expression grew serious, and he pulled her off the stool and into his arms, holding her close. Listen to me, he said quietly but intensely. I need you to understand something. I didn't choose you in spite of who you are. I chose you because of who you are. Your kindness, your intelligence, your beautiful heart, the way you see the world. That's what made me fall in love with you. But look at this place, Donna said, gesturing around his expensive penthouse. Look at your life. You're successful and sophisticated and lonely, Stan interrupted. I was lonely, Donna. All of this, he gestured around them, means nothing without someone to share it with, without you. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs stroking along her cheekbones. Do you want to know what I see when I look at you? He asked softly. I see the woman who stayed late at the library to help a struggling student with research. I see the woman who volunteers at the children's hospital reading to kids who are scared and hurting. I see someone who makes homemade cookies just to say thank you. You have no idea how rare that kind of genuine goodness is. His words broke down her defenses, and she felt tears sliding down her cheeks. You make me want to be a better man, Stan continued. You make me want to use my success for something more meaningful than just accumulating wealth. You've awakened something in me that I didn't even know was sleeping. You already are a good man, Donna whispered. Look at what you do for your patients, how you care for Sophie, how you've honored your sister's memory. Because of you, Stan said firmly. Being with you, seeing the world through your eyes, it's made me remember why I became a doctor in the first place. Not for prestige or money, but to help people. Before Donna could respond, the smoke alarm started shrieking. They broke apart to see smoke pouring from the griddle where the forgotten pancake batter had burned. So much for impressing you with my cooking skills, Stan said with a rueful laugh as he rushed to turn off the heat and open windows. I'm very impressed, Donna said, unable to stop giggling at the absurdity of the situation. You've definitely proven you're human. Just barely, Stan said, waving a dish towel at the smoke alarm until it stopped beeping. How do you feel about ordering breakfast instead? They ended up eating bagels and cream cheese while sitting on his couch, feeding each other bites and talking between kisses. It was domestic and intimate and perfect in its imperfection. Tell me about your family, Donna said, curled up against Stan's side. Stan's expression grew complicated. My parents are demanding. My father's a federal judge. My mother comes from old money. They had very specific expectations for my life, including who I should marry. What kind of expectations? Someone from the right family, with the right connections, someone who would enhance the Ferguson name rather than just love their son. Donna's stomach dropped. Someone like me would never meet their expectations. Their expectations don't matter to me anymore, Stan said firmly, tightening his arms around her. I spent years trying to please them, following their blueprint for my life. But you've shown me what it feels like to choose my own path. They're going to hate me, Donna said quietly. They're going to love you because I love you, Stan said with more confidence than he felt. And if they don't, that's their loss. They spent the rest of the morning wrapped in each other's arms, talking and kissing, and simply enjoying being together. Stan showed her his collection of medical journals, explaining some of the research he was passionate about. Donna told him about the children's book she'd been working on, about her dream of creating stories that would help kids feel less alone. "I'd love to read it," Stan said when she mentioned her manuscript. "It's not very good," Donna said automatically. "I doubt that," Stan said firmly. "You have such a beautiful way with words, such insight into what children need to hear. I bet it's wonderful." His faith in her was both thrilling and terrifying. No one had ever believed in her dreams the way Stan did. Around noon, Stan's phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "She wants to have lunch tomorrow," Stan said, his jaw tightening as he read the message. "She probably wants to lecture me about settling down with someone appropriate." "Maybe you should go," Donna said, though the thought of him discussing his love life with his disapproving mother made her stomach churn. "Not without you," Stan said immediately. "If I'm going to face the Spanish Inquisition, I want you there with me." "Stan, I don't think that's a good idea." "I'm not hiding you," he said firmly. "I'm not going to pretend this isn't real or important. You're the woman I love, and they need to accept that." The determination in his voice both thrilled and terrified her. Part of her wanted to hide away in their perfect bubble to avoid the harsh reality of his family's disapproval. But another part of her, the part that was growing stronger every moment she spent with Stan, wanted to fight for what they had. "Okay," she said quietly, "if you're sure." "I've never been more sure of anything," Stan said, sealing the promise with a kiss that left her breathless. That afternoon they took a long walk through the city, holding hands and talking about everything and nothing. Stan pointed out buildings where he'd worked during residency, favorite restaurants, places that held memories. Donna shared stories about her neighborhood, the small apartment she'd called home for 3 years, the coffee shop where she wrote on weekends. "I want to see it," Stan said when she described her apartment. "I want to see where you live, where you write, everything that's part of your world." "It's not very impressive," Donna warned, "especially compared to your place." "It's yours," Stan said simply. "That makes it the most important place in the world to me." They ended up at Donna's apartment that evening, and she felt nervous as she unlocked the door to her modest one-bedroom. But Stan looked around her small space with genuine interest, taking in the overflowing bookshelves, the cozy reading nook by the window, the framed photos of the children from story time. "It's perfect," he said softly. "It's so completely you." He spent a long time studying her bookshelves, pulling out titles and asking about her favorites. When he found the notebook where she'd been working on her children's book, he looked at her with questioning eyes. "May I?" Donna's heart hammered as she nodded. No one had ever read her writing before. Stan settled into her reading chair and opened the notebook carefully, as if it contained something precious. Donna paced nervously around her small living room, watching his face for any reaction as he read. The story was about a shy little girl who discovers she has a magical voice that can heal people's sadness. Not exactly subtle, but it came from her heart. After what felt like an eternity, Stan looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "Donna," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "this is incredible. It's beautiful and touching, and exactly what children need to hear." "Really?" she whispered, hardly daring to believe him. "Really?" Stan stood and crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "You have a gift. This needs to be published." "I wouldn't even know where to start." "I do," Stan said firmly. "I have connections in publishing through the hospital's fundraising events. Will you let me help you?" The offer was generous and tempting, but it also scared her. "I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of me." "This isn't about taking care of you," Stan said seriously. "This is about the world deserving to read your words. You're talented, Donna, incredibly talented." They made love again that night in her small bed, and somehow it felt even more intimate than the night before. In her own space, surrounded by her books and dreams, Donna felt brave enough to show Stan parts of herself she'd never revealed to anyone. He worshipped her body with a reverence that made her feel like a goddess, whispering words of love and desire that branded themselves on her heart. Afterward, as they lay tangled in her sheets, Stan traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "Move in with me," he said suddenly. Donna's breath caught. "What? Move in with me?" Stan repeated, propping himself up on his elbow to look at her. "I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I can't stand the thought of spending another night without you. Stan, we've known each other for less than a month, and I've been more myself in these past few weeks than I've been in my entire life," he said intensely. "I don't want to go slow anymore, Donna. I don't want to waste time pretending this isn't the most important thing that's ever happened to me." The raw honesty in his voice made her chest tight with emotion. "Your parents are going to think I'm a gold digger." "I don't care what they think," Stan said fiercely. "I care what you think. I care what you want." "I want you," Donna whispered. "All of you forever. But I'm scared of moving too fast, of losing myself in your world." "You could never lose yourself," Stan said softly, cupping her face in his hands. "You're too strong, too genuine. If anything, you'll make my world better just by being in it. What if we don't work out? What if—" Stan silenced her fears with a kiss that was both tender and passionate. "We will work out," he said against her lips. "We have to. Because I can't imagine my life without you anymore." The conviction in his voice broke down her last defenses. She thought about how lonely her apartment would feel without him, how empty her bed would be after having him in it. "Okay," she whispered. "Yes, I'll move in with you." The smile that spread across Stan's face was radiant, and he kissed her again, with such joy and passion that she felt dizzy with it. "I love you so much," he murmured against her neck. "We're going to be so happy together." As they fell asleep in each other's arms, Donna felt like she was stepping off a cliff into the unknown. But with Stan holding her close, his heart beating steadily against her back, she wasn't afraid of falling anymore. For the first time in her life, she was completely, utterly sure that someone would catch her. Chapter 7. The Snake in Paradise. 3 weeks had passed since Donna moved into Stan's penthouse, and they had been the happiest weeks of her life. She'd never imagined that love could feel this complete, this all-consuming. Every morning she woke up in Stan's arms felt like a gift. Every kiss still sent electricity through her veins, and every night they made love with a passion that left them both breathless. Stan had been true to his word about supporting her writing. He'd connected her with his friend Marcus, a literary agent who'd been genuinely enthusiastic about her children's book manuscript. They were still waiting to hear back from publishers, but for the first time in her life, Donna felt like her dreams might actually come true. She was in the kitchen making Stan's favorite dinner, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables, when the elevator chimed, announcing his arrival home from the hospital. Her heart did its usual flutter of anticipation as she heard his keys in the door. "Something smells incredible," Stan called out as he entered, and Donna could hear the smile in his voice. "Perfect timing," she called back, adding the finishing touches to their plates. "Dinner's just ready." But when she turned around with the plates in her hands, expecting to see Stan's warm smile and hungry eyes, she instead found him standing frozen in the living room. Behind him stood a woman who could only be his mother, tall, elegant, with perfectly coiffed silver hair and cold blue eyes that were currently taking in every detail of Donna's appearance with obvious distaste. Victoria Ferguson was everything Donna had expected and feared. She wore a cream-colored Chanel suit that probably cost more than Donna made in 6 months, and her posture radiated the kind of confidence that came from a lifetime of privilege. When her gaze swept over Donna, it was like being examined by a predator. "Mother," Stan said, his voice tight with tension, "I wasn't expecting you." Clearly, Victoria replied, her tone arctic. I thought I'd surprise you, though it seems I'm the one who's been surprised. The silence stretched uncomfortably as Victoria continued to stare at Donna, who stood clutching the dinner plates like a shield. Stan moved quickly to her side, his hand finding the small of her back in a gesture of support and possession. Mother, I'd like you to meet Donna Arnold, Stan said, his voice carefully controlled. Donna, this is my mother, Victoria Ferguson. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Ferguson, Donna managed, setting down the plates and extending her hand. Victoria looked at the offered hand for a long moment before taking it with the tips of her fingers, as if Donna might be contagious. Miss Arnold, Victoria said coolly, how interesting to finally meet you. Finally? Donna looked between Stan and his mother, confused. Oh yes, Victoria continued, her smile sharp as a blade. Stanley's been quite secretive about his new living arrangement. I had to hear about it from Margaret Whitmore at the country club. You can imagine how humiliating it was to learn about my son's cohabitation from a gossip over martinis. Stan's jaw tightened. Mother, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Nonsense, Victoria interrupted, moving further into the room and making herself at home on the expensive sofa. I'm sure Miss Arnold is curious about why you've been keeping her such a secret. From your family. Donna felt like she'd been slapped. Secret? Is that what she was? Donna isn't a secret, Stan said firmly. I've been waiting for the right time to introduce her to the family. The right time, Victoria repeated with a laugh that held no warmth. How long has it been now? A month? 2? Living together? Playing house? Her gaze swept over Donna's. Casual jeans and sweater with obvious disapproval. How very modern. Mrs. Ferguson, Donna began, trying to keep her voice steady. I know this might be surprising. Surprising? Victoria's eyebrows rose. My dear girl, it's not surprising. It's exactly what I expected. What do you mean? Donna asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. Victoria stood and moved to the window, looking out at the city lights as if she owned them all. Stanley has always had a tendency toward charity cases. In medical school, it was the scholarship students he felt sorry for. During residency, it was the patients who couldn't afford proper care. And now, that's enough, Stan said, his voice dangerously low. But Victoria continued as if he hadn't spoken. Now it's a little librarian who's managed to convince him she's something special. She turned back to face them, her smile cold and calculated. Tell me, Miss Arnold, what is it exactly that you bring to this relationship? Besides the obvious, of course. Donna felt the blood drain from her face. The cruelty in Victoria's voice was breathtaking in its casual brutality. Mother, stop this right now, Stan warned, moving protectively in front of Donna. I'm simply trying to understand, Victoria said with false innocence. My son is a brilliant surgeon with unlimited potential. He could have any woman he wants. Women from good families, women with education and breeding and something to offer besides. She gestured vaguely at Donna. Whatever this is love, Stan said fiercely. Something you've never understood. Victoria's mask slipped, for a moment revealing genuine anger underneath. Love? Stanley, you're 30 years old. It's time to stop confusing lust with love and start thinking about your future, about the Ferguson legacy. The Ferguson legacy? Stan laughed bitterly. You mean the legacy of cold, loveless marriages for the sake of social climbing? No thank you. Your father and I have built something meaningful. You and father have built a business arrangement. Stan cut her off. You've never loved each other a day in your lives. Victoria's composure cracked entirely. How dare you? Everything we've done has been for you, for your future. And this is how you repay us? By throwing it all away for some nobody from the wrong side of town? The words hit Donna like physical blows. She'd known this moment would come eventually, but she hadn't been prepared for the sheer venom in Victoria's voice, the casual way she dismissed Donna's worth as a human being. "I should go," Donna whispered, backing toward the bedroom. "No," Stan said firmly, catching her hand. "You're not going anywhere. This is your home too." But Victoria wasn't finished. "Your home?" She laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "Miss Arnold, you don't honestly believe this is permanent, do you? You don't think Stanley actually intends to marry you?" "Mother," Stan started, but Victoria held up a hand. "Let me save you both some time and heartache," she continued, addressing Donna directly. "Men like my son don't marry women like you. They have their fun, they enjoy the novelty, and then they come to their senses and marry someone appropriate, someone who can help their career instead of hindering it." Tears burned behind Donna's eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of this woman. "You don't know anything about me." "I know everything I need to know," Victoria said dismissively. "I know you're a librarian with no family connections, no social standing, and nothing to offer except whatever physical attractions you might possess. I know you're living in my son's apartment, playing dress-up in a life that isn't yours and never will be." "That's not true," Donna said, but her voice sounded weak even to her own ears. "Isn't it?" Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "Tell me, Miss Arnold, what exactly do you contribute to this relationship? Stanley pays the rent, buys the food, no doubt finances your little writing hobby. What do you do besides provide convenient companionship?" Each word was like a knife, cutting away at the confidence and happiness Donna had built over the past month. Because underneath all the love and passion and dreams, there was a voice in her head that whispered the same things Victoria was saying out loud. That she wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy, wasn't anything more than a charity case who'd gotten lucky. "She contributes everything that matters," Stan said, his voice shaking with rage. "She contributes kindness and intelligence and genuine love. She makes me a better person. She makes me happy." "Happiness is a luxury you can't afford," Victoria snapped. "You have responsibilities, obligations. The free clinic you're so passionate about? Who do you think funds it? The research grants, the equipment, the staff salaries, it all comes from the Ferguson Foundation. And that foundation exists because your father and I made the right choices, married the right people, built the right connections." Stan went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you insist on continuing this dalliance, you'll be doing it without family support, financial or otherwise." The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Donna watched Stan's face cycle through shock, anger, and something that looked horribly like calculation. The free clinic meant everything to him. It was his tribute to his sister's memory, his way of helping people who couldn't help themselves. "You're blackmailing me," Stan said quietly. "I'm offering you a choice," Victoria corrected. "Your family and your future, or this girl. Choose wisely." Donna couldn't breathe. She felt like she was drowning, like the beautiful life she'd built with Stan was crumbling around her because she could see it in his eyes. The moment of doubt, the flicker of uncertainty. Victoria had found the one thing that mattered more to him than their love, and she'd used it like a weapon. "I need some air," Donna whispered, and fled toward the bedroom before either of them could stop her. She could hear Stan and his mother arguing in heated whispers in the living room, but she couldn't make out the words over the rushing in her ears. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone and called the only person she could think of. "Donna?" Her friend Maya answered on the second ring. "What's wrong? You sound terrible." "I need you to come get me," Donna whispered, trying to pack her things through her tears. "Please, I can't. I just need to leave." "I'll be right there," Maya said without hesitation. 20 minutes. Donna was throwing clothes into a suitcase when Stan appeared in the doorway, his face pale and stricken. "What are you doing?" he asked, though it was obvious. "What I should have done weeks ago," Donna said without looking at him. What your mother made very clear I should do. Don't listen to her, Stan said desperately, moving into the room. She's just trying to manipulate us. Is she? Donna finally looked at him, and the uncertainty she saw in his eyes broke her heart. Because everything she said, it's all true, isn't it? I don't contribute anything to this relationship except being convenient. You pay for everything. You support my dreams. You've turned your whole life upside down for me. And what do I give you in return? You give me everything, Stan said fiercely. You give me love, happiness, a reason to be better. But not enough to choose me over your family, Donna said quietly. Not enough to risk your clinic, your work, everything that really matters to you. That's not fair, isn't it? Donna zipped up her suitcase with trembling hands. When she threatened to cut off funding for the clinic, you hesitated. I saw it in your face, and I don't blame you. That clinic helps hundreds of people. I'm just one person and not a very important one. You're the most important person in my world, Stan said, his voice breaking. But I'm not more important than your world, Donna replied sadly. And I can't ask you to choose between me and everything you've worked for. I won't be the reason you can't help people. Stan's face crumpled. So you're just leaving? You're giving up on us? I'm setting you free, Donna whispered, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. To have the life you're supposed to have with someone who deserves it. I don't want anyone else. You will, Donna said, picking up her suitcase. Your mother is right about one thing. You could have anyone. Someone beautiful and sophisticated and worthy of you. Someone who could help your career instead of holding you back. You're not holding me back, Stan said desperately. You're everything I want. But I'm not everything you need, Donna said, her heart breaking with every word. And someday you'll thank me for knowing the difference. She walked past him toward the door, but he caught her arm gently. Please don't do this, he whispered. I love you. I love you too, Donna said, standing on her toes to press one last soft kiss to his lips. That's why I'm leaving. And with that, she walked out of the penthouse and out of Stan Ferguson's life, leaving behind the only happiness she'd ever known and the man who'd made her believe in fairy tales. But fairy tales, she now realized, were only for people who deserved happy endings. And she'd been fooling herself to think she was one of them. Chapter 8. Love's Fierce Battle. For 5 days, Stan felt like he was dying. He went through the motions of his life. Seeing patients, performing surgeries, attending meetings, but it was as if he were watching himself from outside his body. Everything felt grey and hollow, without Donna's warmth lighting up his world. He'd called her dozens of times, left countless voicemails, but she never answered. Maya, Donna's friend, had finally texted him that Donna was safe, but needed space. The not knowing where she was, how she was coping, whether she was crying as much as he was, it was torture. His mother had left that night after their fight, smug and satisfied that she'd accomplished her goal. Stan hadn't spoken to her since, couldn't bear to hear her voice, knowing what she'd done to the woman he loved. But the damage was done. Donna was gone, and he felt like she'd taken his heart with her. It was Thursday afternoon, and Stan found himself standing outside the public library, staring up at the building where Donna worked. He knew she'd be doing story time right now. It was 3 o'clock, and she never missed her Thursday sessions with the children. He'd been coming here every day for the past week, just hoping to catch a glimpse of her, but he'd never had the courage to go inside. Today was different. Today, he couldn't stand another moment without seeing her face, without trying to make her understand that she was more important than anything else in his world. The children's section was exactly as he remembered from that magical afternoon 3 weeks ago that felt like a lifetime. A circle of children sat cross-legged on the colorful carpet, their faces upturned with rapt attention, as Donna brought the story to life with animated voices and gestures. But something was wrong. Even from across the room, Stan could see that Donna looked pale and drawn. Her beautiful smile seemed forced, and there were dark circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and tears. She was trying to be her usual warm, engaging self with the children, but Stan could see the sadness radiating from her like heat from a flame. She was hurting as much as he was. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He'd spent the past 5 days wallowing in his own pain, but seeing her now, seeing how their separation was destroying her too, filled him with a fierce determination that burned away all his doubt and hesitation. He loved her, she loved him, and he was going to fight for that love, no matter what it cost him. Stan waited until story time was over and the children had scattered to find their parents. Donna was putting away the books when she looked up and saw him standing. There, the color drained from her face, and for a moment he thought she might collapse. "Stan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What are you doing here? I came to bring you home," he said simply, taking a step closer. "I can't," Donna said quickly, backing away from him. "We talked about this. It's better this way." "Better? For who?" Stan demanded, moving closer despite her retreat. "Because I've been miserable for 5 days. I can't eat, can't sleep, can't think about anything except how empty my life is without you. Stan, please, look at you," he said gently, taking in her pale complexion and the tremor in her hands. "You're suffering just as much as I am." "How? Is that better?" Tears filled Donna's eyes, but she blinked them back stubbornly. "It's temporary. We'll both move on, and I don't want to move on," Stan said fiercely. "I want you, only you, forever." "But the clinic, your family's money." "Fuck the money," Stan said, his voice rough with emotion. "Fuck my mother and her threats and her manipulations. I don't need the Ferguson Foundation to run the clinic. I'll find other funding, other donors. I'll mortgage my apartment, sell everything I own if I have to." "You can't do that," Donna protested. "The clinic helps so many people, and I'll find another way to help them," Stan said firmly. "But I won't do it at the cost of losing you. I won't let my mother destroy the best thing that's ever happened to me." Donna was crying now, tears streaming down her cheeks as she shook her head. "You don't understand. She was right about everything. I don't belong in your world. I'm not sophisticated enough. I don't have the right connections. You think I care about sophistication?" Stan moved closer, his voice intense and passionate. "You think I give a damn about connections? Donna, you're the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. You make me laugh, you make me think, you make me want to be the best version of myself. You're brilliant and beautiful, and you have the most generous heart in the world. But I can't. Help your career, you help my soul," Stan said, reaching out to cup her face in his hands. "You help me remember why I became a doctor in the first place. You make me feel alive in ways I never thought possible." "Your mother will never accept me," Donna whispered. "Then she'll lose us both," Stan said without hesitation. "Because I'm not giving you up. Not for her, not for money, not for anything. Stan, I love you," he said fiercely, his thumbs wiping away her tears. "I'm in love with you, completely and irrevocably. You're not just some convenient companion or charity case. You're the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with." Donna's breath caught. "What are you saying?" Stan dropped to one knee right there in the children's section of the public library, pulling a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. Several library patrons stopped to stare, but he only had eyes for Donna. "I'm saying marry me," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Donna Arnold, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving to you how extraordinary you are? Will you help me build a life that's about love instead of obligation, about making a difference instead of making connections?" Donna stared down at him in shock, her hands covering her mouth as fresh tears poured down her cheeks. "You bought a ring?" she whispered. "I bought this ring the day after we first made love," Stan admitted. I've been carrying it around ever since, waiting for the right moment. And then my mother showed up and I let her poison everything between us, and I realized there might never be a right moment if I didn't make one." He opened the box to reveal a stunning solitaire diamond that caught the library's fluorescent lights and threw rainbows across the children's books. "It's beautiful," Donna breathed. "It's yours," Stan said simply. "Just like my heart, my future, everything I am. I don't care what my family thinks. I don't care about their money or their threats. I care about you. Only you. But the clinic will survive without the Ferguson Foundation," Stan said firmly. "I've already started making calls, reaching out to other potential donors. There are people out there who believe in what we're doing, people who will support us for the right reasons." "You've already started looking for other funding?" Donna asked, hope creeping into her voice. "The morning after you left," Stan said, "because the only thing that matters to me is getting you back. Everything else is just details we can figure out together." Donna looked down at him kneeling before her, this brilliant, successful, devastatingly handsome man who was willing to risk everything for her love. For the first time since that horrible night with his mother, she let herself believe that maybe fairy tales weren't just for other people. "What if your mother tries to sabotage the new funding?" she asked. "Then we'll deal with it together," Stan said without hesitation. "What if people think I'm a gold digger now that you've chosen me over your family's money?" Stan's face broke into the first real smile she'd seen from him in days. "Then they'd be idiots. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with you can see that you'd give the shirt off your back to help someone else." "I'm scared," Donna whispered. "So am I," Stan admitted. "But I'm more scared of living without you than I am of facing whatever challenges. Come our way." He took her hand in his touch warm and steady and safe. "Marry me, Donna," he said again, his voice soft but sure. "Let me love you for the rest of our lives. Let me show you every day how precious you are, how lucky I am to have found you." Donna looked into his beautiful green eyes and saw her whole future reflected there. A future filled with love and laughter and the kind of happiness she'd only read about in books. "Yes," she whispered, and then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." Stan surged to his feet and swept her into his arms, spinning her around as applause erupted from the small crowd that had gathered to witness the proposal. When he set her down, he slipped the ring onto her trembling finger with shaking hands. "Perfect fit," he murmured, bringing her hand to his lips to kiss the ring. "Perfect everything," Donna whispered back, and then his mouth was on hers in a kiss that tasted like tears and joy and promises. When they finally broke apart, both breathless and grinning through their tears, Stan rested his forehead against hers. "Come home with me," he whispered. "Come home and let me spend the rest of tonight showing you how much I've missed you." "What about your mother?" Donna asked. "What about her?" Stan said, his voice hard. "She made her choice when she tried to destroy our relationship. Now I'm making mine." As they walked out of the library hand in hand, Donna's engagement ring catching the afternoon sunlight, she felt like she was stepping into a new life. A life where she was brave enough to fight for love, where she was strong enough to believe she deserved happiness. Stan had chosen her over everything else, and now she was choosing to trust in their love no matter what obstacles lay ahead. Because some things were worth fighting for, and the love they shared was the most precious thing of all. Chapter 9. Building their empire of love. 6 months after their engagement, Donna woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Stan talking quietly on the phone in the kitchen. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their bedroom, she could see the first golden rays of sunrise painting the city in warm light. It was going to be a beautiful day. Their wedding was only 2 weeks away. Rolling over, she admired the engagement ring that still made her heart flutter every time she looked at it. So much had changed since that magical afternoon in the U library when Stan had proposed. They'd weathered storms that had tested their relationship, but each challenge had only made their love stronger. "Good morning, beautiful," Stan said softly from the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. He was already dressed in scrubs for an early surgery, but he'd taken the time to make her coffee exactly the way she liked it. "Who were you talking to so early?" Donna asked, accepting the mug gratefully and making room for him to sit beside her on the bed. "Marcus," Stan said, referring to the literary agent who'd become a close friend. "He has news about your book." Donna's heart skipped. It had been 3 months since they'd submitted her manuscript to publishers, and the waiting was killing her. Good news or bad news? "The best news," Stan said, his face breaking into a grin. "Sunshine Children's Books wants to publish The Girl with the Magic Voice. They're offering a 3-book deal." Donna nearly dropped her coffee mug. "What? Are you serious?" "Completely serious," Stan said, pulling her into his arms as tears of joy streamed down her cheeks. "My brilliant, talented fiancé is going to be a published author. I can't believe it," Donna whispered, still in shock. "After all those rejections." "I never doubted it would happen," Stan said firmly. "Your words are too beautiful, too important not to be shared with the world." The past 6 months hadn't been easy. Stan's mother had made good on her threats, cutting off all funding to the free clinic and doing everything in her power to damage Stan's reputation in their social circles. There had been whispers about his inappropriate relationship and speculation about Donna being a gold digger. But Stan had been true to his word. He'd worked tirelessly to secure new funding for the clinic, reaching out to progressive donors who believed in accessible healthcare. It had taken months of meetings, presentations, and grant applications, but they'd not only replaced the Ferguson Foundation's funding, they'd exceeded it. "Speaking of the clinic," Stan continued, "I have something else to tell you. The Morrison Foundation approved our expansion proposal. We're going to be able to open 2 new locations and hire 6 more doctors." Donna's eyes widened. "That's incredible. Stan, that's even bigger than what you had with your family's money." "It's better," Stan said, his voice filled with satisfaction, "because we built this ourselves, with people who believe in what we're doing for the right reasons. No strings attached, no family politics, just pure dedication to helping people." The journey hadn't been without its personal challenges either. 2 months after their engagement, Donna had received devastating news. Her manuscript had been rejected by 8 publishers in a row. She'd fallen into a dark spiral of self-doubt, convinced that Victoria Ferguson had been right about her not being good enough. Stan had found her crying over her laptop one evening, ready to give up on her dreams entirely. "I'm never going to be a real writer," she'd sobbed. "I was fooling myself thinking I had any talent." "Hey," Stan had said firmly, kneeling beside her chair and turning her to face him. "Remember what you told me about the children at story time, about how their faces light up when they discover new worlds? That's different." "No, it's not," Stan had insisted. "You have a gift for reaching people, for making them feel understood and valued. One day, some little girl is going to read your book and realize she's not alone, that being shy and different doesn't mean she's less worthy of love. That's what real writers do. They change lives." He'd been right, of course. And now, holding the coffee he'd made her while sharing the news of her book deal, Donna felt overwhelmed with gratitude for this man who'd never stopped believing in her. "There's something else," Stan said, his voice growing serious. "My father." "A called yesterday." Donna tensed. Stan's parents had completely cut them off after the engagement announcement. His father had been coldly disappointed, rather than explosive like his mother, but the result had been the same: total estrangement from the Ferguson family. "What did he want?" she asked carefully. "To invite us to dinner," Stan said, watching her face for her reaction. Apparently, word about the clinic's expansion and your book deal has reached their social circles. Suddenly, we're interesting again. What did you tell him? I told him I'd discuss it with my fiancé and get back to him, Stan said. The decision is yours, Donna. If you want to try to repair things with my family, I'm willing. But if you're not ready or don't want to deal with their toxicity, that's fine too. Donna considered this carefully. Part of her wanted nothing to do with people who treated their love as something shameful and disposable. But another part of her, the part that had grown stronger and braver over the past months, wanted to face Victoria Ferguson again as an equal. I want to go, she said finally, but on our terms. We tell them about our lives, our successes, and if they can't be genuinely happy for us, we leave. Are you sure? Stan asked. My mother can be cruel, Donna supplied. Manipulative, classist. I know exactly what she can be. But I'm not the same scared girl who ran away 6 months ago. I'm a woman who's about to marry the man she loves, publish her first book, and help expand a clinic that serves hundreds of people. Let her try to make me feel small now. Stan's smile was proud and fierce. God, I love your strength. Have I mentioned lately how incredible you are? Only every day, Donna said, leaning in to kiss him softly. But I don't mind hearing it again. Their kiss was interrupted by Stan's phone buzzing with a text. He glanced at it and groaned. I have to go, he said reluctantly. Emergency surgery, but tonight we celebrate. Dinner at Chez Laurent to commemorate your book deal? The place where we had our first real date? Donna smiled. Perfect. After Stan left for the hospital, Donna got ready for her own day. She'd kept her job at the library even after moving in with Stan. She loved the work too much to give it up, and it was important to her to maintain her independence. Today was Thursday, which meant story time, and she had a special surprise for the children. The book she'd written had been inspired by her weekly sessions with the kids, and she'd been working on a sequel specifically for them. Today, she was going to read them the first draft and get their input, the best focus group in the world. Miss Donna, Sophie Ferguson, came running up as soon as Donna entered the children's section. At 7 now, Sophie was one of Donna's most devoted fans, and she'd been over the moon when she learned that her beloved Uncle Stan was marrying her favorite librarian. Hi, sweetheart, Donna said, hugging the little girl. Are you ready for a special story today? Is it the one you wrote? Sophie asked, bouncing with excitement. Uncle Stan said you wrote a real book. I did, Donna confirmed. And today, you all get to be the first people to hear my newest story. As the children gathered for story time, Donna felt a familiar flutter of nerves. These kids had been her inspiration, her motivation to keep writing even when the rejections piled up. Their approval meant everything to her. This story, she began, is about a little boy who thinks he's ordinary, but discovers that the things that make him different are actually his greatest strengths. For the next 30 minutes, Donna lost herself in the joy of storytelling, watching the children's faces light up with wonder and recognition. When she finished, the silence stretched for a moment before erupting into enthusiastic applause. That was the best story ever, declared Emma, a shy 6-year-old who reminded Donna of herself at that age. Will you write more? Asked Tyler, a boy who struggled with reading but never missed story time. Many more, Donna promised, feeling tears of happiness sting her eyes. As the children dispersed to find their parents, Sophie lingered behind. Miss Donna, she said seriously, I'm so glad you're going to be my aunt. Uncle Stan is so much happier now. I'm happy too, sweetheart, Donna said, hugging the little girl. Your uncle makes me feel like the luckiest person in the world. That evening at Chez Laurent, Stan raised his glass of champagne in a toast to Donna Arnold, soon to be Donna Ferguson, brilliant author, amazing woman, and the love of my life. To us, Donna corrected, clinking her glass against his, to building something beautiful together. Speaking of building, Stan said, reaching into his jacket pocket, I have something for you. He handed her a small wrapped box, and Donna opened it to find a set of keys. What are these for? She asked, confused. Our new house, Stan said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I found the perfect place, a Victorian in the Arts District with a library, a garden, and enough room for the family we're going to have someday. I put an offer in this morning. Donna stared at him in amazement. You bought us a house. I bought us a home, Stan corrected. Somewhere we can build our life together, somewhere that's ours from the beginning. Tears spilled down Donna's cheeks as she looked at the keys in her hand. Stan, it's too much. First the book deal, now a house. It's not too much, Stan said firmly, reaching across the table to take her hands. It's exactly what you deserve. What we deserve? I love you so much it scares me sometimes, Donna whispered. Good, Stan said with a grin, because I plan to spend the rest of our lives making sure you never doubt how precious you are to me. 3 days later, they stood in the foyer of their new Victorian home, surrounded by moving boxes and possibilities. The house was even more beautiful than Stan had described. Hardwood floors, stained glass windows, built-in bookshelves that made Donna's heart sing. The library is upstairs, Stan said, leading her by the hand through the maze of boxes. I thought you could use it as your writing room. The room took Donna's breath away. It was lined floor to ceiling with empty bookshelves, just waiting to be filled, with a large window overlooking the garden and a window seat perfect for reading. In the center of the room sat a beautiful antique desk with a red ribbon tied around it. Stan, she breathed, running her fingers along the smooth wood. It's perfect. Every writer needs the perfect desk, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I can already picture you here, working on your next book. Our next book, Donna corrected, leaning back against his chest. I want to write something. About second chances, about finding love when you least expect it. Sounds like a bestseller to me, Stan murmured, pressing a kiss to her neck. They were interrupted by the doorbell, and Stan went to answer it, while Donna continued exploring her new writing sanctuary. She could hear voices downstairs, Stan talking to someone in a tone that was polite but cautious. Curious, she made her way downstairs to find Stan talking to a delivery man who was holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. Donna Ferguson, the man asked, looking between them. Almost, Donna said, accepting the flowers. I'm Donna Arnold, but I will be Donna Ferguson in 10 days. The card attached to the bouquet was expensive, cream-colored cardstock with elegant script. Donna opened it with trembling fingers, somehow knowing who it was from before she read the words. Congratulations on your engagement and your book deal. Perhaps it's time we talked. Victoria Ferguson. Stan read the card over her shoulder, his body tensing behind her. What do you want to do? He asked quietly. Donna stared at the flowers for a long moment, thinking about the woman who'd once made her feel so small and worthless. Then she thought about everything she'd accomplished, everything she'd built with Stan, all the ways she'd grown stronger. Call her, she said finally. Set up that dinner your father mentioned. It's time. Are you sure? I'm sure, Donna said, turning in his arms to face him. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm not going to let her intimidate me anymore. What changed? Stan asked, though he looked like he already knew the answer. You, Donna said simply. You showed me what it feels like to be truly loved, and that changed everything. When someone loves you the way you love me, completely, unconditionally, fiercely, it's impossible to believe you're not worthy of that love. Stan's smile was radiant as he cupped her face in his hands. Have I mentioned lately that you're the most incredible woman in the world? Show me, Donna whispered. And he did, kissing her with a passion that promised forever. Later that evening, As they sat in their new living room surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, eating takeout Chinese food on paper plates, Donna felt overwhelmed with gratitude for the life they were building together. "No regrets?" Stan asked, following her gaze around their chaotic but beautiful new home. "Only one," Donna said seriously. Stan's face fell. "What?" "I regret that it took me so long to believe. I deserved this," she said softly. "All those years thinking I wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy of love like this. I wasted so much time being scared." "You weren't wasted time," Stan said firmly. "You were becoming the woman I fell in love with. Everything you went through, every experience that made you who you are, it all led you to me." "And me to you," Donna agreed, curling up against his side on their new couch. "Besides," Stan added with a mischievous grin, "if you'd been confident and self-assured when we met, you probably would have been too intimidating for a poor doctor like me." Donna laughed, the sound echoing through their new home like a promise of all the joy to come. "Poor doctor, you're a millionaire." "Money doesn't mean anything without someone to share it with," Stan said seriously. "You taught me that." As they sat together in comfortable silence, Donna thought about the dinner with Stan's parents that was now inevitable. Part of her was nervous about facing Victoria Ferguson again, but a larger part of her was actually looking forward to it. She was no longer the frightened girl who'd fled Stan's penthouse in tears. She was a successful author, a beloved fiancée, a woman who'd helped build something meaningful and lasting. Victoria Ferguson could throw all the insults and intimidation tactics she wanted. They would bounce off Donna like water off a duck's back, because she finally understood what Stan had been trying to tell her all along. She was worthy of love, worthy of happiness, worthy of the fairy tale life she'd always dreamed of but never believed she deserved. And in 10 days, she was going to marry the man who'd shown her that fairy tales were real. You just had to be brave enough to fight for them. Chapter 10. Forever in each other's arms. The morning of their wedding dawned crisp and clear, with golden sunlight streaming through the windows of the bridal suite at the Grandview Hotel. Donna stood before the full-length mirror, hardly recognizing the radiant woman looking back at her. Her wedding dress was a masterpiece of ivory silk and delicate lace, with a sweetheart neckline that showcased the pearl necklace Stan had given her, his grandmother's, the one piece of Ferguson family jewelry that held love instead of obligation. "You look like a princess," Maya said from behind her, adding the finishing touches to Donna's upswept hair. As her maid of honor, Maya had been instrumental in planning the perfect intimate wedding. "I feel like one," Donna admitted, smoothing her hands over the flowing skirt. "I keep expecting to wake up and find out this was all a dream." "Donna?" Maya's voice was gentle. "There's someone here to see you." Donna turned to find Victoria Ferguson standing in the doorway, elegant as always, in a navy blue dress. The older woman's expression was unreadable as she took in Donna's appearance. "Mrs. Ferguson," Donna said, standing gracefully despite her racing heart. "I wasn't expecting to see you before the ceremony." "I wanted to speak with you privately," Victoria said, reaching into her purse to pull out a small velvet box. "These belonged to Stan's grandmother. She was a remarkable woman. Strong, intelligent, compassionate. She would have liked you." Donna stared at the stunning diamond earrings in shock. "Mrs. Ferguson, I don't understand." "I owe you an apology," Victoria said softly. "What I said to you that night was unforgivable. You reminded me of myself when I was young, before I let expectations turn me into someone I didn't recognize." Victoria's voice grew tender. "I married Judge Ferguson because it was expected, but we never had what you and Stanley have. That kind of passionate love. I was jealous of it and afraid of it. And now Now I see that you are his future, Victoria said simply. Welcome to the family, Donna. I promise to do better. An hour later, Donna stood at the back of the chapel, her arm linked through her mother's. The intimate stone chapel with stained glass windows was perfect for their closest friends and family. The music began, and Sophie started her careful walk down the aisle, scattering rose petals with the seriousness of someone performing surgery. Maya followed in her deep green dress. Then the wedding march began, and everyone rose to their feet, but Donna only had eyes for Stan. He stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, his dark hair slightly tousled. When he saw her, his face broke into a smile so radiant it nearly brought her to her knees. His eyes filled with tears as he watched her approach, and she could see him mouth, "So beautiful." Judge Ferguson was officiating, a surprise that had meant more to Stan than he'd expected. As Donna reached the altar, her mother placed her hand in Stan's with a whispered, "Take care of my girl." "Always," Stan promised, his voice rough with emotion. "Dearly beloved," Judge Ferguson began warmly, "we are gathered here today to witness the union of two souls who have found in each other their perfect match." When it came time for vows, Stan went first. "Donna," he said, his voice shaking as he held both her hands, "6 months ago, you walked into my office and changed my life forever. You taught me that real love isn't about finding someone who fits into your existing world. It's about finding someone who makes you want to build a completely new world together." Tears streamed down Donna's cheeks as he continued. "You've made me braver, kinder, more genuine. I promise to spend every day of our marriage making sure you know how precious you are, how grateful I am that you chose to love me back." When it was Donna's turn, she looked into Stan's beautiful green eyes and found her voice. "Stan," she began clearly, "you taught me that I was worthy of love when I didn't believe it myself. You saw the woman I could become and loved her into existence. You fought for us when I was too scared to fight for myself." Her voice broke slightly, but she continued, "I promise to be your partner in all things. I promise to love you not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And I promise to never forget that fairy tales are real because you've given me one." Judge Ferguson smiled as he pronounced them husband and wife. "Stanley, you may kiss your bride." Stan cupped Donna's face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears of joy. "Mrs. Ferguson," he whispered. And then he was kissing her with all the love and passion in his heart. The reception was held at their new home, with the gardens strung with lights. Sophie insisted on giving a toast, standing on a chair to reach the microphone. "Uncle Stan used to be sad sometimes," she announced, "but then he met Miss Donna, and now he smiles all the time. I think that's what love is supposed to do." The simplicity of the 7-year-old's words brought tears to everyone's eyes. The most magical moment came during their first dance as husband and wife. Stan held her close as they swayed to "At Last" by Etta James, whispering sweet words meant for her alone. "Any regrets, Mrs. Ferguson?" he asked as the song neared its end. "Only that it took us so long to find each other," Donna said, looking up into his face with wonder. "I love you, husband." "I love you too, wife," Stan replied, sealing the words with a kiss that tasted like champagne and promises. As the reception wound down, Donna and Stan stood alone in their beautifully decorated garden, still in their wedding attire, but finally, blissfully alone. "Hello, husband," Donna said, stepping into his arms. "Hello, wife," Stan replied, pulling her close. "How does it feel to be married?" "Like coming home," Donna said simply. "Like everything in my life finally makes sense." Stan lifted her in his arms, making her laugh as he carried her toward the house. "Ready for our wedding night, Mrs. Ferguson?" "I've been ready for this my whole life," Donna whispered against his neck. Their bedroom had been transformed, rose petals scattered across the bed, candles flickering on every surface, champagne chilling by the window. Stan set her down gently and turned her to face the mirror, his hands coming to rest on her shoulders. "Look at us," he said softly. "Look at what we built together." In the mirror, Donna saw a confident, radiant woman in a beautiful wedding dress, standing beside the most handsome man in the world. But more than that, she saw two people who had found their perfect match. "I see forever," she whispered. They made love that night with a passion that was both tender and consuming, celebrating not just their wedding, but the journey that had brought them to this moment. Every touch was a promise, every kiss a declaration, every whispered endearment a vow to love each other for all the days of their lives. Afterward, as they lay entwined in their marriage bed, Donna traced lazy patterns on Stan's chest while he played with her hair. "I have something to tell you," she said softly, her heart racing with nervous excitement. "What is it?" Stan asked, his voice drowsy with satisfaction. Donna took a deep breath, then smiled up at him. "I'm pregnant." Stan went very still, his hand freezing in her hair. "What?" "I found out yesterday morning," Donna said, watching his face carefully. "We're going to have a baby, Stan." For a moment, Stan just stared at her in shock. Then his face broke into the most brilliant smile she'd ever seen, and he rolled over to cover her body with his, being careful not to put his weight on her. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. "We're really going to have a baby." "We really are," Donna confirmed, laughing at his expression of wonder. "Are you happy?" "Happy?" Stan said, cupping her face in his hands. "Donna, I'm over. The moon, a baby, our baby." He kissed her deeply, pouring all his joy and love into the connection between them. When they broke apart, both were crying happy tears. "I love you so much," Stan whispered against her forehead. "You've given me everything I ever dreamed of, and so much more." "We gave it to each other," Donna corrected, placing his hand on her still flat stomach. "And now we're going to give this little one the most loving family in the world." As they fell asleep in each other's arms, Donna reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. A year ago, she'd been invisible, convinced she wasn't worthy of love. Now she was a published author, a beloved wife, and soon to be a mother. She'd found her voice, her confidence, and most importantly, she'd found her soulmate. And as she drifted off to sleep in her husband's arms, their unborn child growing beneath her heart, Donna Arnold Ferguson knew that her fairy tale was just beginning.